I'm a junior NSA officer, out to save the president with my blade.
And I'm a corrupt general, intent on killing the president with mine.
And despite being based off of some of the most well-known fictional swordsmen of all time,
neither of us know how to fence.
Transport is coming. We'll take the service in.
Thank you.
Too bad bulletproof vests only cover your chest. Richard! It's not like I planned it, but we can still pin this on the North Koreans. Looks like we'll get that chance to see who's the best after all. Don't mind if I take a minute. I don't want any blood on my uniform.
Do what you gotta do.
Oh, this is gonna be fun, D'Artagnan. This is gonna be fun. You know, I had a dream about you. That we actually have this moment.
And I killed you?
Now, it didn't turn out that well for you. So let's see.
We will see.
So it's already a good place to bring a couple things. First of all, her knuckle guard is pointed way inwards. That's something that you don't do unless you have literally never taken a lesson and haven't even really given any thought to what you're actually holding. Most people, when they start saber fencing, they will hold the knuckle guard so that it's pointed straight forwards, and as they take more lessons, they will be taught to hold it out at a 45-degree angle away from their body, at least when they're not parrying and not attacking. So the fact that it's so far in like this, first of all, obviously is not correct, but second of all, it actually is so far in that she's holding it sideways, which means that she's not even holding the grip right. And I can see right here, it's a little bit difficult to tell because this saber is clearly too big for her, which is understandable. There are all sorts of different kinds of hand sizes and just particular ways that people grip their weapons, and so there's almost the same number of grips out there. Even for something as simple looking as the saber grip, which looks like this, as opposed to the foil and epee grips, which look like this, and sometimes even this. But the fact that she is holding it so sideways means that she's not holding it correctly, and I can also tell that she's just, even if it was straight, she still wouldn't be holding it correctly. Basically, she's holding it like a hammer, not like a sword. You can see she's kind of like, she has sort of a death grip on it, and her thumb is resting over her forefinger when it should be resting on top, so that the blade is able to move forward instead of always being up at an angle. It makes it easier to control the blade. So not only is she holding it sideways, she's just plain holding it wrong even if it was forward. The other thing I want to bring up is something that is technically never really taught, but you definitely only see it with beginners before it kind of, they stop doing it after a while. And that's this part here, where she's just kind of snaking the blade back and forth. There's no real reason to do this kind of thing. And the thing is, if you've never fenced before, you might think it looks intimidating, but there are actual ways taught to intimidate your opponent. Like, right off the top of my head, the appel, or the stomp, is used to intimidate your opponent, literally to just intimidate them. The beat can also be used for that as well. So there are actual ways to intimidate your opponent, all of which are more effective than just kind of lazily waving your blade back and forth. It automatically indicates that you haven't been fencing for very long, and you don't know what you're doing.
Look at you, D'Artagnan!
This scene is rife with inaccuracies. If I really had to pick something good about it, it would be literally... Actually, it wouldn't be any of them. I was about to say one of them did a parry 2, but looking at it now, I realize the parry 2 is way too high, and there would have been a much better option for sort of where he's attacking. But basically, this scene is making me cringe. Half the time they're attacking, they are, they're treating these like full-on, historical weapons, which they are not. They are light and flexible, which was mainly for safety reasons. And once people started fencing with them, they realized, oh, I don't have to, put a whole lot of effort into this, so that means I can make it faster. And that requires a different type of movement. What they're doing now is not that. They are using these like full blades. And they're, I'm no expert in historical martial arts, but I'm pretty sure that even this is executed poorly because they're swinging from their elbows. They are doing these massive wind-ups and then trying to deliver with a whole lot of force. It doesn't really work because they're acting and they don't want to actually hurt the other person, so they have to do it a little bit slower so that, even after a couple of choreography lessons so that they know what's going on, they are still able to actually do it. But they're still doing everything very slowly. Like, there are better ways to do this. And they're moving from all the wrong points. Like, just where they're trying to get their momentum is just... it looks to be all wrong, at least from a modern fencing perspective. Again, I'm no expert in historical martial arts, but it still doesn't look very good. And then that's even in this part here, where they're kind of going back and forth, where one is attacking and the other is parrying. But then as the camera switches angles, you can see them start to go into the even worse form of movie fencing, which is they both reach their arms out and they both make blade contact, and it's the exact same thing. It's stage fencing that is not realistic, and it's not even that good, because it's not one person attacking and the other is defending, and they go back and forth. They are both attacking and not trying to hit the other person, just trying to hit the blade. They're just doing it for, to get the metal sounds and the somewhat movement of an attack, but it's really not. And then, of course, this part here where they lock blades and, stare down at each other. The thing is, while this is bad, I have to give it a bit of a pass because they're supposedly actually trying to hurt each other. Now, why they're doing this with fencing blades is only because they're supposed to be, like remakes or something of the Three Musketeers, and so they wanted a sword fight somewhere in there. But this means that they're straying even further away from what would have been more realistic, like an actual fight. They don't resort to, punching or anything like you might do in a small area like this when the gun is out of ammo. This is a very bad area to fence in, even if they had historical weapons. But because that's what they've chosen to go with, while this locking of the blades and grappling with each other is certainly very far removed from modern fencing, I can see why they threw it in, because it kind of makes a little bit more sense in this context. It's still awful, though. Even if you have an improper grip, if you're gripping it that tightly, it is almost impossible to let it go like that. Even if your opponent entangles it and tries to shove it out of the way, it's almost impossible to lose your grip. Those blades can't cut anything.
Quite rusty, General.
So not only is that not possible because of the blunted tip of the saber blade, but it's also impossible because, like I said, these are light and flexible. Even if they hit skin, they are designed to bend and, give rather than, try to push through like a, actual sword would. Any movie or TV show you ever see with a modern fencing blade where they either actually cut someone or, even worse, actually stab them is just completely made up. You would have to break the blade at one of its weaker points so that you would only have the stronger inner half of the blade, and then maybe you could do it. But, like I said, you would literally have to break the blade at the right spot and then sharpen it to be able to do that. So, yeah. This this clip is full of inaccuracies, and only one of them is there because of the context. Everything else is just horribly done. I haven't seen the whole movie because this version of The Three Musketeers is surprisingly difficult to find online. But watching this scene, I can only assume the rest of the movie is just as bad as this scene. Because, like I said earlier, the bad acting doesn't start at the fencing. It starts way earlier than that. This is the kind of movie that I might want to watch just to laugh at how bad it is. In the past, I've said I'm happy if a TV show or movie decides to pick Saber, or basically pick something that isn't the easiest thing to do, because it's sort of like, hey, it looks like they might actually put effort into it. And some of them do put effort into it. They just kind of miss the mark on a lot of things. But this time, I'm actually very not happy that sabers are in this because it's just so poorly represented. I think this definitely has to get the lowest score I've ever given out. This is a 1 out of 10. And in my opinion, that's being generous. But entertaining. Purely because of how awful it is. So, wasn't on purpose, but gotta give him some credit. That's the end of that. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Alright, ready to go.
Okay.
Butthole. Oh, sorry.
Testing. Vagina.
Testicles. 1, 2, 3.
I was gonna say vagina.
I'm definitely saving all this.
A blooper reel! Hey, blooper reel. This is... I'm not getting paid. Alright.
Alright.
Let's do this.
Let's go.
Okay, Mark.